All right, welcome back to the After Hours podcast. I'm your host, Francisco Delator. Co-host today is Joey Prohofka. We're joined today by Coldroom, Montreal. We have Kevin, the owner, and we have John, the head bartender. What's going on, guys?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great.
You were mentioning before the podcast started that your building was 200 years old. We always ask this question generally towards the end, but I'm actually going to start with it today. Do you guys have any good ghost stories?
Ghost stories in this building, not that I know of, and I've done anything and everything in this building as far as like building it to like just sleeping in here overnight and seeing how bad it can be. And so far, nothing. But Montreal is known for its ghost stories. So,
and so if you don't have any specific to the cold room in the building that you're in, do you have any outside of work?
Yeah, a good friend of mine used to work at a bar called Rosalie's, which is on De la Montagne Street in Montreal, which is actually next door to an old club. I think the club's still open, if I'm not mistaken, called 1232. And that building, if I'm not mistaken, used to be an old morgue. Basically, I had one friend of mine who was a bartender. Another one was one of the general managers there. And anything and everything you can think of happened in there, from phones ringing and like a white noise in the background to kids screaming in the background, to the point where there was they were doing renovations, and the construction team that were doing the renovations this is no joke right now, the construction team actually ran out of the building because they heard like ghosts and like saw ghosts and apparitions and stuff like that. And the place actually exists as a club now.
Just partying with some spirits.
And where is this?
On De la Montagne.
De la Montagne.
Yeah. I've been in the nightlife enough. I've heard like every story that you can think of like any haunted place.
I never knew that Montreal was like famous for ghost stories.
Oh, there's a lot. I can go on for hours about that one. Like there's some doozies.
All right, well, when we come to visit, you got to tell us some more.
Oh, for sure. There's actually ghost tours here too, so.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
What type of stuff can you get at those like ghost stores?
There's a few. There's like one about my God, what is it? The old McGill laboratory that was actually used, if I'm not mistaken, by this is a while ago that I learned about this one, but I don't have full details. But if I'm not mistaken, one of the McGill hospitals were actually used for U.S. government LSD testing, like mind manipulation stuff, and just because it was like out of the country, so they were allowed to do it and all that stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like super haunted. So it's like there's all kinds of stories about that.
Where like the government takes people and they try like all these like crazy drugs on them, and they see how they can.
Yeah, exactly. Manipulate them. Manchurian Candidate. Like if you know anything about that movie, like that's kind of where it relates to.
Oh shoot! Okay,
I haven't heard it, but we'll definitely check it out.
All right, well, back to the cold room. You own the cold room and you operate it every day. You also have a couple other businesses. What got you into the food and beverage industry originally?
Let's see here. I started in the food and beverage industry when I was 18. I got into it because I have a lot of my staff around me right now, so a lot of them are going to start chuckling at this, the reasoning behind it and all this stuff. So if you hear giggling in the background, you'll know what it is. So basically, I got into it when I was 18. 35 now, and when I did get into it, I got into bartending specifically. I was ridiculously shy. I didn't want to waiter at the beginning just because I didn't want to approach people. I was like super nervous about it and wanted to be more approached because I was a little bit more comfortable with that. And I actually got into it just to break out of like my shyness at the beginning. Like I knew nothing of alcohol. I don't come from a family that drinks at all. Like it's super rare. My parents drink, like very, very, very rare. So it was like completely new to me. And I just got into it and fell in love with it like right off the bat. And if you've seen the movie Cocktail, no joke, like the scene with Tom Cruise when he's at TGI Fridays, literally that was my first day, like working with like a bunch of like business people and like older clientele, walking in like you're a celebrity and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And it was something, honestly. Really, really cool experience.
So were you playing hockey around this time as well?
Actually, at that time, no, I wasn't playing hockey at all. I quit when I was 16, 15, 16, like right before I was supposed to go into juniors. And when I got back into it, it was like late 20s, late teens, like early 20s. And just started playing garage hockey again. And then a few people saw me playing. They're like, man, why don't you consider trying to go pro? And I was like, you know what, I'll just go give it a go just for shits and giggles and see if something comes out of it. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, you know what? Life goes on. And played semi-pro for a little bit and then called it a day. I was like, you know what? I got that experience and it was fun. And, I can sort of live vicariously through my brother at this point. and then just enjoy life and just do what I want. Dabbled in a few different things, but always was in the hospitality industry since 18.
Right on. And it seemed like your plan worked to break out of your shell a little bit because you're a pretty great communicator now and you're very confident from what I can hear.
Yeah, I got a face for radio.
That's a new one. Haven't heard that one.
That's pretty good.
So taking it back to hockey, you said that your younger brother now plays professionally?
Yes, sir. It's been him. He's been playing never stopped, never quit or anything like that. And ended up playing, he was in the pros since he's like early 20s, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, and he's like 30 years old now or 31 now and doing extremely, extremely well. Played in all the sunny states. So started in San Jose, Dallas, Florida, and now Phoenix. So
He's smart, man.
Yeah, we were watching him on that cup run.
yeah, got so close.
Was was he on San Jose the year that they lost in the finals?
Yep.
That is heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Oh man.
Also the year that they went, Game 7 and they were up 3-0. I don't really want to talk about that. He's going to bust my chops on that one.
Oh no.
All right. We'll get away from that then. So, John, how did you get into the food and beverage industry? You're now the head bartender at Coldroom, Montreal.
Yes, I started when I was about 14 in a pizza place, actually, right next to my house. And since then, I fell in love with it. I was actually studying to be an electrical engineer, to go into sound engineer. And I just loved being in the food industry. I started as a cook. And from there on, actually, I started as as a busboy, washing dishes. And from there, I think I did every position imaginable in the restaurant industry. And I've worked every job. I've even worked at that Jersey Shore, believe it or not. It's not one of my proudest moments. Then I was a cook for a long time. And it's when I became a waiter that I actually liked talking to people. I like getting the feedback. I like the interaction. And I realized that bartending was best of both worlds. So that's how I fell in love with the whole bartending. And the more I went into bartending, the more I realized it was more of a craft and you can really go deep into it. It's exactly like cooking, but with liquid instead of solids. I fell in love with it. The one thing I told Kevin when I started working here is no matter what, that's pretty much a bit of my story of how I got into it. When I hear my first day, it was pretty much exactly like Kevin. One of the barmaids, I was working in a restaurant bar, I was a waiter, and one of the barmaids didn't show up. I'm like, and the owner's like, who wants to bartend? I just put my hand up. I'm like, why not? And I realized I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't know how to make a gin tonic. Like so when somebody asks you like a regular, is just a gin tonic? You don't know how much gin, how much tonic, how much ice, what garnishes when you've never done it before. So my first shift was a complete disaster. Then I started studying and I got like enchanted by it.
Yeah, and I mean everyone starts somewhere, but from what I've seen online, you're actually very accomplished, and you have many accolades to show that you really are one of the best bartenders in Montreal.
Yeah, we have many great bars. Right now, the Coldroom is like I've learned so much over here, and I just want to keep growing over here. I worked in many other bars where I started like really, really, really growing. I started my own business when I got into it also. I had a bar service for a while where I was working at Chef Eloise. So I was working like with circus acts doing bartending, which was an amazing experience. So, and from there on, I did a lot of events for corporate, for weddings, and I just got into the bar world. I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
Right on. Sounds like you're very passionate, and that's what makes somebody really good at their craft, is being passionate and always willing to learn.
Yes, absolutely. Is the one thing you have to have when you work, especially in this industry, is passion.
Absolutely. And we talked with Frankie Solaric, the bar chef out in Toronto, and he's one of the most passionate people about his craft. And I can see it in you guys too. You guys are very passionate about what you do. It's awesome.
Thanks.
So how did you guys meet?
It's a good question, actually.
I think Max.
Was it? Yeah. Eh?
Yeah, most probably through the owner of another pretty awesome bar in Montreal, Jean-Maxime Giguère, 132 Bar Vintage. And I think I knew him really well, and Kevin knew J Max really well, and I think he's the connection between. Yeah, that's one thing about Montreal, is that the bars are really tight. I love seeing that between all the bars. Like, it's not that much competition going on. Not that I know of, to tell the truth.
Everyone knows each other in Montreal, and everyone basically works together as much as they can, whether it's bar owners and or more specifically like cocktail bar owners and or like bartenders. So it's nice little like small niche group of people.
Yeah, you got a tight knit community around you.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you guys friends with a lot of the bar owners in Montreal then?
Yeah. Like especially like now with like the whole like COVID thing, a lot of us are like on a bar owner wise. It's like we have our own little WhatsApp chat, and like everyone's kind of like helping each other out, trying to figure out ways to sort of deal with the situation and potentially make some income and give ideas, help each other out. So it's actually been really, really cool. Like this actually kind of strengthened a little bit more, like the camaraderie, like just getting everyone together and sort of the camaraderie behind everything going on and trying to help each other out is actually really cool.
Yeah, that's what it seems like here. Not in the food and beverage industry, I can't attest to that, but we work in software, and I mean, in Toledo, everyone is just trying to help everybody. Just help supporting small businesses, and then just doing whatever you can to help the community in these times.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of help from the community of bartenders, actually. Ambassadors and stuff like that have been helping out all the bartenders as much as they can. And that's nice to see, to tell the truth. Especially now.
That's awesome. So, Kevin, what is your favorite part about owning a bar?
Nothing that I thought, that's for sure. That's a good question. There's a lot of factors to it, honestly. Favorite part about it would be you really get to see your vision sort of come to life. In all honesty, not thinking that that this idea would have come to where it is now, and just keep seeing it grow and evolve. That's something to me that's my favorite part of it. People that I work with is ridiculous. Like I'm ridiculously lucky in the position that I'm in to have the people that I'm working with. Those are my major things, to be honest with you, that I've enjoyed. Yeah, those are my big things, to be honest.
Yeah, from what I've seen on your Instagram and on the Coldroom website, it seems like you bring in great help from all around the world, it seems. Would you like to elaborate on how you get some of like the finest talent that there is to offer?
I've been lucky enough to be in certain competitions and also travel and meet people internationally, and to bring certain people to Montreal and sort of showcase that, our city has something to offer, like that international bar community. Has always been my goal. I've tried to be an advocate for the city as much as I can internationally. Us and like one or two other bars in the city have been really lucky enough to get international employees basically come in and work with us and help us advance the bar, bring sort of other ideas and concepts from other cities that are a little bit more advanced than us in the cocktail or even in the food and beverage industry.
What other places do you take inspiration from, whether it is another establishment or culture from around the world, to bring it to Coldroom?
Man, anything and everything, honestly. I get inspired by like the weirdest stuff, like from something that I'll read in a book or something I see in a movie or someone I'm speaking to and something hits me. And I think that goes with everyone on a creative standpoint. A lot of people take their own experiences from wherever they're from and use that as like a major part of their sort of creative process. And that's kind of where I've went with it. It's not just where I'm from, but what I've experienced, and also piggyback off of different ideas and concepts that I've seen all over the world. I've been fortunate enough to go to London and see what everyone else is doing, and New York. And what I like about Montreal more than all of these places is we're so multicultural. It's a mix of everything here. So we get, you go into one borough, you get like the Latin Quarter, you go to another borough, you get like the Korean Quarter, you go to another borough, it's the Italian Quarter, Portuguese, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you get a little bit of everything anywhere you go on the island.
I'm the living proof.
Yeah.
I'm half Chilean, half Moroccan, and grew up in a Jewish household.
And you get a lot of that in Montreal, which is what's fun.
So, Kevin, how would you say the vibe in the bar industry in Montreal compares to like Ottawa, Toronto, New York, and other places, other big cities near Montreal?
A very, 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 very miniature New York. Very miniature. Our food... we've always been recognized for our food, and my goal with a few other people in the city for the last few years has been to showcase the alcohol side of things, not the club side, but more like the cocktail bar. Then you argue the fact that we have a crap load of clubs and supper clubs and this and that. So like as far as it goes, I don't want to say Ottawa doesn't have a nightlife, but they close the shops pretty early. Toronto is definitely up there. Vancouver, it's definitely up there as well because it's a major city. But Montreal's got something special to it that I don't think any Canadian city has up to now, personally. But definitely, like I said, I would see it as a really miniature New York.
And Montreal is one of the most unique places in all of North America. Being that you guys are national, I believe you guys have two languages, right? Like nationally recognized, French and English.
Well, actually, funny story. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on this fact. I don't want to have to pull out the fact check, but nationally recognized, I believe we're only one still. The only one that is bilingual is somewhere in the East Coast past Quebec. I want to say it is, my God, I actually just read this recently. It's French and English for them. They're considered bilingual. Quebec isn't technically. It's considered French.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, believe it or not. The island of Montreal, though, is considered bilingual.
Okay. You can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I believe there was a petition or like a movement in Quebec to separate from Canada. That might just be like something that popped up on my Twitter feed. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, twice. It happened 2 times. And they're just trying to separate from Canada. They felt they were different. On a political side, I won't get into it, but like that's basically what ended up happening. It didn't go through, but there are a lot of laws in Quebec, but more specifically, kind of honed in on Montreal that people still don't believe. Like we have a lot of hoops that we have to jump through. Excuse me. Like example, there's a Law 101, which talks about it's basically you have to greet people by saying bonjour, hi. You can't just say hi in English. You can also get a ticket for not saying that, like an actual fine. You as a business and also the employee can actually get a ticket if they greet somebody by saying hi first. So they actually do have a language police. No joke.
Wow, I've never heard of that anywhere else. That's kind of crazy.
It can get intense. Like if they have a bone to pick with you, like they had one restaurant that they gave them a fine because they had the word pasta written in their menu. Like it should have been translated in French.
I know the menu was written in Italian, if I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And it should have been in French first. It has to be 30% bigger than the other language, whatever it is.
Yeah, it seems like it starts to get pedantic to a point where, the font size has to be 30% bigger, or you have to say or hello and stuff like that.
Well, your business name has to be in French. So like example, legally, our business name is actually La Chambre Froide, which is the Coldroom in French. But like we have it as our working name as the Coldroom. Not too many people actually know that. Giving out all their secrets.
I'm shocked right now.
Yeah, it's insane. I took a few years of French, but I don't know much.
Well, it's just funny because if you put that on paper and you get like somebody who speaks English, and that's usually what I end up doing with any business name that we come up with, is I sit there and I try to say it in the way somebody would actually say it who just speaks in English, or somebody who speaks in French. And it's funny because the way most people, Americans specifically / Ontario, they end up saying the chamber Freud when they try to pronounce it. So I'm like, yeah, doesn't work.
I would get absolutely roasted if I went to Montreal.
You'd be surprised though. Like, a lot of people on the island are really awesome, and like, if you don't speak French, it's not the end of the world. So
Okay, that's good.
There are some people that it's different, but you know, it's just different. You get used to it.
I love Montreal for the people though. Everybody's super friendly.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Everybody comes here for that too.
Coldroom or Chambar Freud? I can't say it.
See what I mean?
I'm not even going to try. But how did you guys come up with the name?
So originally the space actually was a cold room back in 1877, I believe. And the reason it was because right next to us was like sort of the original town square, if you want, for Montreal. And that's actually where it was like a fresh market. Like an open market, basically. So a lot of ice was actually stored in the basement, and fruits and vegetables, because the building itself was actually a fruits and vegetables business. So they actually would just bring fresh fruits and vegetables outside and start selling them basically on the square, which is not even a block away from us. So that's where the name originates from, is that we're like, oh, well, you know what? It was a cold room, so let's just call it Cold Room.
There you go. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, like I like to go, to be honest with you, like all of our businesses are in Old Montreal, and I like looking into the history of the city and or the building that we're in, because they're all old buildings that we're a part of. And I just work with the history of Montreal at that point.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, you touched on your other businesses. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course. We have El Pequeño, which was our second location after Coldroom, which is just upstairs from Coldroom. It's the smallest cocktail bar in Canada. It's 150 square feet, itty bitty. Fits 9 people legally standing, not even sitting, and 1 bartender. Really, really fun little space. And then we have Parliament, which is a pub and parlor. So it's half restaurant, half pub, or half sit down, half standing. And we just launched a ghost kitchen called Tuk, which means boat in Cambodian, and basically it's Cambodian street food. Our food director is Cambodian, and we basically collaborated on coming out with a Cambodian style ghost kitchen, seeing if it works, and if it works, once COVID's over, we'd love to launch this concept and make it a living space.
I have a quick question about, is it El Pequeño?
El Pequeño.
Pequeño. El Pequeño.
El Pequeño. Yeah.
Pequeño.
He's little in Spanish.
Okay, that makes sense then. Is that place usually pretty packed, I'm assuming, as far as it can be? Is it usually filled up with 9 people?
Full capacity. Full capacity.
Do you have to make a reservation like 4 months in advance?
No, it's funny. We actually never made like a reservation. Like we never did any kind of reservation process or anything like that. It's just walk in, have a good time. Same thing as Coldroom. It's if there's a lineup, just put your name on the list and we'll give you a call or a text. You know, that was really it. Just like come as you please. Makes it easier.
I'm looking at some pictures of it right now. It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
Definitely have to, when we take a trip there, visit that too. So do all your bartenders do they generally work at all the locations you own or just one?
Everyone touches a little bit on everything. And now it's becoming a little bit more clear where people want to work. So, Coldroom's a little bit more cocktail and whiskey forward, or, like brown spirits. El Pequeño is very rum forward. And Parliament is very gin and beer forward. So a lot of people are kind of falling into what they like to work with as far as like the main ingredient. And they kind of fall into that space a little bit, but most of them end up working at Coldroom or try it out a little bit and or work at Parliament for a little bit. Same thing as El Pequeño. So everyone touches a little bit on it. There is a base that everyone needs to know, and it kind of goes right down the board with what, you know, most people need to know. And then after that, it's the extras, or once you actually get into the space.
And so all of your businesses are in the heart of Old Montreal. Do you think that any of them would be as successful around the world in like Toronto or New York or California? Or is it really just a staple of the Montreal culture?
I want to tell you the only one that would is El Pequeño at this point, because they're all unique in their own way. Coldroom almost can't be replicated. I want to say can't be replicated just because the location and how it's hidden and just all the elements to it, the story behind it.
The experience can be replicated.
The experience itself is really somewhat difficult to replicate. And then Parliament, for sure, it can't be replicated. And the reason for the name Parliament is actually because it was originally, the location is actually in front of the original the Canadian Parliament, which got burned down in 1849 by English loyalists, hence the name. So we just went, you know what? Well, we have all this history, might as well play with it. We ended up doing that. So it's like that one can't really be replicated. And that idea kind of comes from, if you've ever heard of Dead Rabbit from New York. It's one of the best bars in the world. It was the best bar in the world for years. I still think it is. A great space. And what's fun is that like their whole business plan was that it open a space that can't be replicated. And oddly enough, they're actually replicating it in New Orleans there, but still, it's they went on for like 5 to a bit more than that, like 7 years now, unreplicated, and you know they just wanted to stay unique as much as possible in their own space. But they have so much demand that they're opening worldwide at this point. Not saying that we can't replicate any of the spaces that we have, but El Pequeño would definitely be the easiest one to go worldwide with. Is it because of the novelty of it being, you know, less than 10 people? I think so, yeah. I mean, I'd go there. Oh, dude, honestly, it's a really cool, like, fun experience. It's different. It's so tight that let's say you're in there with someone else or by yourself, if there's anyone else that shows up, it's like you're kind of forced to talk to them because you're so close. It just, you know, we've had weddings in there. We've had people become like lifelong friends worldwide. Like it's really interesting what's sort of transpired in that space.
Yeah, it really sounds like a place that if you're in Montreal, you almost have to go to.
Yeah. So my next question is for both of you guys, I guess. Do you guys notice a difference when it's a tourist or a traveler that's coming to stop in versus, you know, a local? Can you tell like immediately when someone walks in the door if they're from Montreal or not?
Yeah.
50-50. Are there any tips that we should know about to try to fit in better?
I find like when tourists come, I'm always behind the bar, and the way it's set up, can see them walk in and see their first expression when they look into the bar. And tourists have this special sparkle in the eye. Most local people know about it, and like I've heard stories about it. But when you get a tourist that's never heard about it and just comes in out of nowhere, like I know right off the bat that I'm gonna kill his night. I'm gonna make him the best night of the world.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great that you guys try to give your guests the best experience possible. On the average week, how long would you guys say you each spend at Coldroom as well as your other establishments?
You want hours? For me, every day. Been like that for 5 years.
No, I'm lucky enough to have a good boss. To tell the truth, like you can, because I also have a child, a daughter. So I have her 3 to 3.5 days a week. The rest of the time, I'm at the bar. So it's when I'm not with my daughter, I'm at the bar all the time. I'm trying, or I'm working, or administrating, or doing whatever I can for the bar.
So when you guys go out, when you're not at the bar, if you were taking a night off for some reason, would you go to the Coldroom or one of your other establishments, or would you go to a different bar in the area?
I usually go to a different bar. If I do go out, same thing with Joe. I have a daughter as well, so it's if I'm not home with her, I'll go and check out some other locations. I try, especially when like guests come to town, and I'll take them out. Usually, what I end up doing is I want them to see the city and not disrupt. Like especially for me, it's a little different now because I don't want to disrupt the experience. And usually if I show up at any space, it kind of gets disrupted because some of the team ends up turning around and getting a little nervous that I'm there, or like acting a little funny and not knowing how to serve properly in the moment. And it's the last thing that I want to for anyone to feel is like uncomfortable. So it's like I let them just do their own thing and have a good night or a good shift or whatever it is, and not bother them too much. And same time with when guests come to town, I'd rather show them the city, and if they want to go see the space, then like any of the spaces, I let them go on their own terms and check out the space themselves.
Yeah, in the 2 years you've been there, I think I can count on my fingers the amount of times you've been at the bar. During
service, I try to stay away as much as I can. Again, the idea of the space is of Coldroom specifically. Well, it's kind of evolved into every space. It's what's the experience, and then from the experience is like how do we really bring something different and unique. And Coldroom specifically, the uniqueness of it is really at the beginning of the experience, which is the doorbell. To get into Coldroom, you have to ring a doorbell. Usually, unless it's a busy night, the person that answers the door is either your bartender or your waiter, and then they bring you downstairs. And while bringing you from the front door to the actual bar, it's ballpark. It's maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds that you have to just talk to your bartender and just shoot the shit, talk about life. You know, how's your day going? How's everything going? Where are you from? So we really get an idea of, you know, who we're speaking to and who we're going to be serving. And then from there, the experience really starts. Like as soon as you ring the doorbell, that's when your experience starts right away. And it's like, I don't want to ruin that moment for anyone, because I find it really fun and different.
Yeah, that's very unique. I've never heard of an establishment, specifically a bar or a restaurant, you know, ringing a doorbell to get in and then being greeted by the staff.
The stories that I have, because I used to sit in front of the door like a creep. I don't know if you just heard the background laughing there, but like I would literally just sit there and just watch people. And this is kind of like the time when Pokemon was the thing. The Pokemon
Go
the app there. Yeah, that's it. So there's times that you'd watch people, and like I'd have friends of mine that would like come and just like sit and just shoot the shit with me. And then we'd like put bets on, okay, is this guy in Pokemon Go or is he looking for Coldroom right now? So we don't even have an address online, right? So like you have to just find a black door with a doorbell on it. And it's like it gets confusing at times. So how many times I saw people just freaking out or like asking a concierge down the street, and a concierge will end up walking them from the hotel to the actual bar. And there's a mix of different stories.
That is wild.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's very unique to the Coldroom, is from the moment you go in to the moment you go out.
And even when you leave the business, like when you're actually leaving Coldroom, you're leaving from another door.
This place is like a maze.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? It's exactly that. And like how many times I've had actual people, like they come back for a second or third time, go, Jesus, I didn't even find it as easy as I thought I would after the first experience. Okay. Sorry.
We moved.
I just looked up the Coldroom online. It gives it says there's an address, but I don't know if that's the right one or what it is.
Yeah, that's like if there's an address there, that's an old, like not even a real address, an inexistent one. Like online, it's supposed to be like a corner street, basically. And that's what it was for like years. I think it still is. But yeah, the address that's there, it's like for the apartment buildings. It's not even the actual address.
Oh, gotcha.
Kevin, you take a very different approach from many of the people we've talked to in terms of your laissez-faire, hands-off approach to running your establishments. And I think it's really awesome that you have a great staff that you can trust. But I'm so curious now, is there a reason why you love letting the operations flow without being hands-on?
Well, look, it's not that I'm not hands-on. Like I said before, I'm literally in one of, if not all of them, every single day, no matter what. I always have an eye on it. My senior management team that is basically growing with with the company and also growing with me specifically, I make sure that they're there, and I want them to learn as much as they can, to feel like it's their business. Because my goal from the get-go was not to sort of be alone in this venture and grow with people that want to potentially own their own business or want to accelerate in whatever else it is. If it's not bar and restaurant and something else, like I want you to actually achieve your goal. Like I'm not here to basically make you work till you're finished and that's it. Like have a good life. It's more like I want you to actually grow with the company. I want you to grow personally. I want you to actually learn something on the business aspect and understand the value of a dollar. And at the same time, I also, this is going to sound absolutely silly, but I try to treat my team the way I wish I got treated as an employee when I was in this industry. You know, again, Montreal, the hospitality and the nightlife industry is very different. You can really get a bad boss really quickly. And I've had horror stories and I've heard horror stories from the industry, whether it's in Montreal or anywhere else worldwide. And it's something that I try to steer clear from. And I want to operate like a fair and clean business.
That's great. It seems like your employees really enjoy working at Coldroom and your other locations as well. So if one of your bartenders came up to you and was like, hey, Kevin, I want to open my own bar, would you help them get to that goal?
I've had friends, I've had family members, I've had everything. The first thing that I tell them is make me a business plan. And to be honest with you, that usually weeds out the herd really quickly because building a business plan is a real big pain in the butt. Just to understand your vision and have a clear idea is really, really difficult to do. And for me, if you can get through that, then I know you're ready to work for it. And there's just like also key elements to it that are important to me. But like all my team knows that, you know, my door's always open anytime you need to talk or, you know, you have an idea or even if it's just to talk about life, it doesn't really matter. Just give me a call and like we can just shoot the shit over a beer or even just whatever, a bike ride, or it doesn't really matter what.
I love it. You were mentioning that a business plan usually, you know, weeds out the herd and stuff like that. For our company, Winhouse Software, we work really closely. We're partnered with an incubator and an accelerator in the Toledo area. What those are basically is just accelerators to help people that have good ideas and they want to start their own business. And
awesome.
we know a lot about, you know, writing business plans, finding, you know, your market validation and stuff like that. And it's really great that you can help out people like that, but it is a taxing event to do.
And it's crazy because we've seen so many people that start their business and we're like, oh, can we, you know, see your business plan? They're like, what?
Yeah, well, that's it. Eh? It's like how many, like because again, in Montreal, what's a lot of people don't know is, and again, all of this and the reason I'm like this is because of my previous and my past experiences. And, you know, the experience of opening Coldroom has, like, I have PTSD over it because it took 12 months to build. It also took me another 10 months to actually get the lease from the landlord with just like perseverance and like annoying the hell out of them. And then building the space itself, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I didn't understand leases and I didn't understand like all those little details that a business owner needs to understand. So a lot of people like just think it's easy, and the amount of work and the amount of what I had to put my mind and my body through in 12 months to actually get the place open, almost going bankrupt twice. Like I can go on for days on that story. Was something that I just don't want someone else in my position who's like really eager to open a business to have to go through ever again. And now it's like I understand the steps that it takes to actually get something opened and operating, especially a bar or a restaurant at that point. And, you know, it's like I want people to actually learn how to do it properly and not just go in it blind, because my experience could have actually been a whole other conversation. It could have went completely the other way. As much as the business itself did extremely well right off the bat, like the first day, it could have went the complete opposite and could have went extremely bad. And we could really easily not be having this conversation today, right now. for me, it's really important for people to understand business as well as just not just understanding how to make a great drink or how to serve somebody properly. You got to start understanding the business side of things as well.
What's one thing you would recommend to somebody who is planning on opening a bar or a restaurant and getting into this industry?
For me, one thing, find a mentor. Find somebody that has already done it, has went through the journey, has experience, and learn from them. If you have any questions, ask them. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to ask because, like I said, you can easily succeed, but you can also easily fail in this industry.
Yeah, and I think that goes for most industries. Having a mentor that can guide you, because there's a saying that we say around the office is like, you know what you know and you're good at. There's things that you know about and you're not good at, and then there's the unknown that you don't know about until you get your hands in the mud and you start doing it. And so having a mentor really circumvents the unknowing process, and they really do guide you in the right directions to take those next steps to better yourselves.
So I have a question for kind of all your locations. If we were to get one drink at each location, what drink should we get?
I'll let John answer that one.
Well, for sure, at the El Pequeño, it's going to be either a daiquiri or a mojito. If you go to Coldroom, you should try something on the menu. There's something for everybody. You're asking a question that's very relative to everybody. So as the bartender, that's what I'm telling you, especially at the Coldroom, as a bartender, what you like, find that drink for you. Mostly it's going to be whiskey based, but they're going to find a drink on the menu or make you a drink that's specially just for your palate. If you go to Parliament, their beer selection is amazing. So is their wine selection, and they have good gin-based cocktails since they have a wide variety of amazing gins, local gins.
We almost have like 110 gins, and like 70 of them are like Canadian.
Yeah. So definitely go for a gin drink, and they have a great menu. But the same way, talk to the bartender, let him know what you like because nobody has one favorite drink, and that's my philosophy on that. Obviously, El Pequeño is Cuban. The daiquiri mojito there is insane, but for the rest, go in, try a whiskey cocktail that's for you at Coldroom, and try a gin cocktail that's for you at El Pequeño.
Those all sound great. You guys have 110 gins?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
We're just like we were going to keep going and building it up, and then just didn't have COVID happened. So
yeah, that's absolutely insane. I think I can only name like 5 to 10 off the top of my head.
Where does the icon, the duck with the X's over the I, where does that come from?
That is, for me, it's funny. I wanted to adapt it to the symbol of hospitality, and I'll explain why, or the symbol of change in the nightlife. The idea behind it was in 1960, a great book if you actually want to read it. It is the story about the West End Gang, which is the Irish mob in Montreal. And it talks about a special detective unit which is called the Rubber Duck Squad. Their whole mandate was to take the nightlife by storm because of this. There's a big history about Montreal gangs and the underworld and all that jazz. This kind of delves into it a lot. And there's something called the Brinks bank robbery or the Brinks heist, which, if I'm not mistaken, was actually one of the major premises based off of this actual story was featured in Goodfellas, if you've seen the movie, which is the big bank robbery heist. That's actually based off of what happened in Montreal, which was like a big collaboration between like a bunch of different gangs in the city in the 60s. The Montreal police and the government kind of had enough, and they started this detective unit called the Rubber Duck Squad. And their whole mandate was to take the nightlife by storm. That's basically what they did. They went into bars and restaurants and just, crack skulls type of thing, figure of speech, just to try to figure out who was behind this Brinks bank robbery. And lo and behold, that actually morphed into an actual police unit that still exists today, which is the nightlife police, Eclipse, sorry, which is the sort of the gang squad. the logo itself is based off of, it's a modern take off of their logo, which was like this super detailed, embroidered, like a duck flying from the water type of thing with X's in its eyes. And my idea was to take the nightlife by storm in the hospitality world, but in a positive note. And, you know, exactly like we discussed before, taking different risks and letting the staff and letting the team sort of evolve and grow and giving them a comfortable workspace and a good environment and not being forced to drink. A lot of businesses, it's not that they force bartenders to drink, but the clients definitely do. You kind of get stuck into that. And Montreal, we don't have any laws saying that employees don't have to drink or anything like that. So, like, you know, there are nights that you can get pretty saucy pretty quick if you're not careful as an employee.
I find working at the Coldroom, there's a certain professionalism that's already in here that makes you not want to get drunk behind the bar. But it's still super fun. It's still super, like, you feel like you're really working and you're not there partying if you want. You know, you're doing what you love. You're doing it with passion. So you don't want to, like, get unfocused and get too drunk.
No, that's such a cool story though about, you know, the duck and the nightlife police per se. It's a really cool modern take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
In Montreal, I believe, or in Quebec, right? The drinking age is 18 or is it 19?
Yeah. 18.
Yeah.
18. Yeah, and I think that's part of like why people probably love, you know, seeing like their bartenders drink is like people that are young. They go out for the first time and it's like, all right, I really don't know what I like, what I want to drink. And then you have a bartender that's also cool with you drinking and drinking with the bartender. It's like, okay, I'm not in this alone. You know, I remember that's how I was the first time I went to Windsor. Because in the States it's 21 and Windsor it's 19. Me and some of my friends went out and it's like, okay, I don't really know how this bar thing works. And then you have bartenders that are like, all right, I'll take a shot with you. Or can I recommend this and this? And they're also drinking on the job. And it's like a really cool form of camaraderie.
Yeah.
So Kevin, how often would you say you drink on the job?
Have a drink on the job? 0.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did, and I unfortunately did in my younger years. That's just because the setting that it was in, more supper clubs. So it's, you know, fine dining, well, quote unquote fine dining, in like till about 11 o'clock hits, it turns into a club. And that you kind of get stuck having a few drinks or two with clients. Mm-hmm. Especially, it gets tough. It gets very, very difficult, but you learn very fast that if you're going to start doing that and you're working 4 or 5 nights a week, it takes a big toll on your body, and there's just like, it just doesn't work.
Oh, I'm sure, especially the next day, you don't always feel like actually, you know, it's hard to get work done if you're hungover or whatever. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, like I did this for 10 years, and I can tell you right now, 10 years ago, I used to drink a lot of work, and it was okay the next day. Now, also, I don't drink at work because I can't function the next day. I'm completely dazed and confused, and it takes me like a whole day to get back from it. By the time I get back to work, I'm still drunk from last night. It goes with age also, like your body can't take it anymore.
Yeah, I remember when I was young and I was 19 to 21, I could drink and then bounce back the next day and be perfectly fine.
Yeah, go run 5 miles and you're fine, you know.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm only 21 and I already feel like I'm getting that way. I'm like, I only drink every like 2 weeks now. So speaking of drinking a little bit, do you guys have any hangover recipes for other people who might have a little too much on a night out?
Before you go to bed, Advil and water. And a lot of water. You have your headache and you have everything from lack of water, of H2O. So you just hydrate as much as you can. Eat food that's going to help you hydrate. All that greasy stuff and all that is kind of a myth, but it feels good to eat.
Oh, man, not for me, man. I always went with the greasy stuff. I went that
it doesn't work for me.
as soon as you have a few drinks and you're feeling it, you just go have a poutine.
A poutine, yeah.
Just cheese, and then you're set. You're usually good. And if you're really still feeling bad in the morning, for me, it's always been the same thing: cold shower, Gatorade, tomato juice, and a cold shower, and potentially a Tylenol. If it's that bad.
You said poutine, and my mouth started watering because you really can't get that here in the U.S. And every time I've been to like Toronto or just in Ontario in general, I always get poutine because I just love it, but it just sucks it's not here.
Yeah, so you have to get the cheese curds. I don't think they're legal over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of food, do you guys serve food at any of your restaurants?
Yep, all of them.
What are some dishes we should try if we were going to your restaurants?
El Pequeño right off the bat, it's the Cubano. I spent basically 2 weeks in Miami with a good friend of mine, just basically eating Cubano sandwiches and doing research, quote unquote research, and just basically stuffing my face in Cubano sandwiches. And we got a really unbelievable Cubano sandwich, and it's the only thing that we actually serve that's food. Coldroom, it's really, really simple. Our charcuterie board is phenomenal, but also the funny part is since we've opened, I ended up just randomly getting a big pot of candy and just going, listen, if you want candy, just order it for like $3-4 and you can have some candies while you're waiting for your drink or while you're having a drink. And it's super popular. And it's just a mix and mash of candy. And Parliament, honestly, our fish and chips is unbelievable. Our food director is incredible.
He's amazing.
And he's like, I have nothing else to say than he's incredible. And he's still super humble, super innovative, extremely creative, and ridiculously knowledgeable. And we're really, really lucky to have somebody like that on the team, that especially in the kitchen. Honestly, anything he puts on the plate is delicious.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah, like it's really good. And our Cambodian restaurant, our Cambodian ghost kitchen, honestly, everything on the menu is like to die for.
Oh, it's a killer. It's so good. Like I wait for it for the weekend to eat again.
That all sounds amazing. We're a huge fan of Cuban sandwiches, so we could eat those all day long.
I've actually never had Cambodian food. What is that? What is like the main dietary makeup of your meals there?
Everyone that you speak to always kind of says the same thing. Like coconut is like a big thing. It's like everything has coconut in it, and nuts and peanuts.
Turmeric and lemongrass is the main ingredient in most dishes.
So the normal sort of people that think about it. The people that think about it, they say those ingredients, but the actual ingredients is exactly that. It's like lemongrass, turmeric.
It's nice, spicy, refreshing. You know, it's the makes his own taste with it. It puts on a few scores, it puts on a couple of dishes, and it really comes through nicely in all the dishes. Because it's spicy, fresh touch to every spice. It's really good. To every plate, sorry. It's really good.
That's awesome.
It all sounds so delicious.
Yes, it sounds so good.
Also, we resemble a lot of Vietnamese and Thailandese. So you can have like type of banh mi's, pad thais, wings, spring rolls, jungle rolls, and stuff like that. But all Cambodian style. So it's all with a different kind of twist, and it's really, really good. It's good. It's cool to have something different, but kind of the same if you want.
That's awesome. So I have a good one for both you guys. If you weren't in the bar and restaurant industry, what do you guys think you would be doing?
Originally, while I was playing hockey, I went to, I was doing my studies in writing for film and television at UCLA. Everything online. I was basically creative writing for film and television. Did a few commercials and this and that, and I really got into like editing and directing. So I'd probably be doing something in the film industry.
Any plans for a book anytime soon?
Book, I've actually wanted to for a while. The idea behind my book was how not to open a bar, which is basically the way I opened it. Or I was going to call it how to open a bar the unorthodox way. That was the big one that I was going to do. Would have been a cocktail book as well. And if not, then I have movie scripts, ideas, like a book full of movie script ideas that I really want to get back into eventually.
Yeah, I'd read it. That sounds pretty sweet.
And how about you, John?
Probably either I was going to be a sound engineer. I was a lot of music. I played drums and a lot of other instruments my whole life. That, but to tell the truth, I don't see myself doing anything else than anything in the industry, in the bar or restaurant industry. So it's probably going to be sound engineer. I was a really good musician. Or I extremely love fighting. I do Muay Thai a couple of times a week. I've been doing it for a while. I was doing it a lot when I was younger. Probably some kind of crazy combat sport, if not sound engineering or anything with music.
You could be a UFC fighter.
Yeah, why not? I'm kind of short for a UFC fighter, but yeah.
Do you watch the UFC or MMA?
I do. I love watching it. I love watching any type of combat sport, to tell the truth. I find it's a lot of people find it slugging. I find there's so much art and like so much thinking going into it. It's an extreme sport that's so complicated but so beautiful to watch at the same time.
Agreed. And it's nice that it's one of the only sports still on right now as well.
Yeah, well, one-on-one, you know.
Yeah, I used to watch it probably about once a month or so. Now, every time they've been having a fight on, pretty much have to watch it because you don't get your sports kick, you know?
Yeah.
So, Kevin, you mentioned that you gave us a little bit of advice for a bar and restaurant owners. What is one piece of life advice that you could give to everybody that's listening to the episode?
Oh my God, that's going to be so cheesy, but you only live once. Honestly, if you have anything that you want to do, just do it. Just go out there and actually do it. There's just no reason not to. Like, life's way too short, especially with like everything going on now with like all COVID. It just shows you it's like, you know, it could be your time tomorrow. You know, like, why not go do whatever it is you actually want to do now instead of later in the future and wait. One of my favorite quotes is, great ideas die in graveyards. And that's something that I live by. It's like, if I do have an idea, I want it to come to fruition and actually happen, because I don't want it to die with me. That makes any sense whatsoever. That's really something that I stick by.
Yeah. No, I love that. That makes a lot of sense. Like you said, with everything going on right now, you just never know when your day can come, so you might as well make the most out of every single day.
Exactly.
Keep going. Like, there's always going to be challenges along the way. You know, so just keep going. Keep your eye on the ball and just go for it.
Persistence is key.
So, kind of going off this, you know, making the most out of every day, what is the most thrill-seeking thing that each of you guys have done?
Thrill-seeking? I'm the most boring guy in the world. No.
that can't be. You played hockey. That's pretty, can get pretty tough.
Thrill seeking. I usually go into stuff blind. I just jump into things right away. Doesn't matter what it is, business venture or like a trip. I just pick up my bags and go. It's a little more difficult with the daughter, obviously, with the child. But I think my best one was just picking up and leaving to Italy a year after I opened Coldroom. So I just picked up and left for 2 weeks. It was my first real vacation for myself that I felt that I deserved and earned, and just literally traveled Italy with basically nothing packed, no plans, no nothing, and had one of the best experiences of my entire life.
That's pretty awesome. I would love to do that one day. Any spots in particular you'd recommend?
Yeah, Coconato, which is northern Italy. It's the home of Cochi, which is one of the owners of Cochi, actually. The owner of Cochi, which is Roberto Bava, who's actually become a friend. Super random. As soon as I landed, I just texted a bunch of my alcohol reps, and I went, listen, I'm in Italy. Can you guys do anything? And Bella Vita, which is one of the brands that I work with, one of the import companies that I work with get back to me, and they're like, listen, Roberto's waiting for you at his house in Coconato, which is like a small town of 2,000 people, about 45 minutes away from Torino. He's like, he's waiting for you. I ended up driving from Milan to Asti, which is really nearby, just cranking Euro beats and like driving at 200 miles an hour and just like freaking out going, wow. And I ended up staying in his villa, and like, he was like, listen, you can stay here as long as you want. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want. Doesn't like, just have a good time. And absolutely adored it. Like, Northern Italy is absolutely gorgeous. All of Italy is gorgeous, but Northern Italy was a really cool experience.
Sounds like it was a great time. How about you, John? What's your most thrill-seeking experience ever?
I'd say sparring a UFC fighter. Not long ago, I actually went in the ring with a guy that scared the living shit out of me. Sorry for the language. It was just, I've never felt that adrenaline rush. Like, every time I would watch him, I would like shiver. To tell the truth, but I'd still go for it. You know, so it was like a couple, like 2-3 rounds. That's all I could do with him. And, from what I can recall, it was one of my most thrill-seeking times of my life, because I was scared, completely shitless, but I was still like just going forward. The birth of my daughter, which was almost 53 hours. So that was a one for the books, to tell the truth. So I still remember that like if it was yesterday. I need to travel more, put it that way. I definitely need to travel more. I traveled, but I didn't do anything very thrill-seeking, if you'd say that.
I don't know. Getting in the cage with a professional MMA fighter, I don't know how much you have to pay me to do that. I would be so scared.
It was sparring, so it was nice. It was
Right. Can you tell us who it was? Are you able to do that, or
No.
is it a secret?
No. I actually don't even know. He was at the gym, and my coach is like, "Come in, spar with him." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because it's good experience." I'm like, "But I don't want to." And he's like, "Go for it." I'm like, "Okay." So yeah, my coach is like that sometimes. Crim.
It's awesome that he pushes you, but I would be pretty scared.
But it's good. It's really, really good for work. I found myself in that situation being very calm. And I went to that. But that's my
For sure.
Yeah, my most thrill-seeking experience, I think, that I can remember of.
If we were to go to one other restaurant or bar besides Coldroom, the Parliament, and El Pequeño, what would it be in Montreal?
If it's a bar, I would probably tell you Mal Nécessaire, which is, Joe actually worked there for a little bit. And then if it's a restaurant, I would probably say Garde Manger or Bremner, which is in the same family, owned by Chuck Hughes. 2 great spots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are usually our go-to recommendations at like any of our businesses. But I would also one-up that by saying, and I can't forget that because if they hear this and I don't say them, they'll stab me as well. It's Tavern on the Square, which is a good friend of mine's, 2 good friends of mine's restaurants. And it's been around for, a long time now. And it's just a great, great space and very, very under the radar restaurant. Under the radar. Well, not even under the radar. It's like everyone knows about them, but it's like they're still quiet. It's like, it's interesting. It's a really, really cool spot.
It might not be a place we would hear of, coming from out of town when we come to visit.
Yeah, you'll hear it from the locals, like guaranteed. And it's such a great space.
Yeah.
When we make the tour around Montreal, we'll make sure to hit all the hot spots.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Then I'm not giving like justice to so many other spaces because there's so many good bars and restaurants in the city.
There's more bars and restaurants by capital in Montreal than in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah. And if you were going to eat out at a different bar or restaurant in Montreal, it'd be eating out for 13 years at different places. That's all facts that I found on the internet. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I did not. I've never heard of that. That's pretty awesome. So when we come there, we will start at your place and get some recommendations and end there as well.
Usually what ends up happening with tourists, no joke, it's people start with us and odds are they might end, like it's a good chance they're going to end with us. But we end up turning into sort of like the tourist space where we recommend all spaces in the city.
Yeah, what happens is they come for a whole night, and then whenever they're going to go out, they're going to come to us before, go there, and then come back to us afterwards.
All right, well, I think I'm pretty good on questions. You guys are welcome to ask us any questions, but first, where can they find you on socials and website?
Man, there's a bunch. My personal one is for everything is Kevin Demers 32. That's Instagram and Twitter. For every other business, Coldroom, it's the Coldroom MTL. El Pequeño is El Pequeño Bar. Toque is Toque MTL, and Parliament is Parliament MTL.
Thanks for being on the show, guys. We really appreciate it, and we're definitely going to come to Montreal and party with you guys.
Beauty. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.